This July 2nd, 2014 City Commission meeting will come to order. Madam City Manager.
For those who care to do so, please stand and join us in the invocation. Dear God, as we approach the celebration of our country's independence, we pause to reflect on the meaning of freedom and pay tribute to the men and women who protect our freedom each day by serving their country. Today, we also celebrate the 50th anniversary of the passing of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. Please grant us your continued wisdom as we carry out the business on the agenda this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Are there any agenda modifications?
We don't have any agenda mods.
Wow. Isn't that good? Okay. So we're
on presentations.
Presentations. I think I got that first one. And then, okay. Florida League of Cities is that one. If I sound a little bit hoarse today, it is because I am. I've been a little bit under the weather, but I'm coming back really fast. Ken Bass and all the participants with the town show, would you all please join me here at the podium? Thank you. Come up.
Can we get close to you?
I wouldn't get too close. Matter of fact, I won't shake your hand. I'll bump you, though. For the past 10 years, the Council on Culture and Arts has worked closely with the town show committee members and artists to coordinate, facilitate, install, and promote this exhibition of collaborative effort. This is one of the more than a dozen exhibitions presented annually by COCA as part of the city's Art in Public Places program. So I have a proclamation reading for that, and it reads as follows. Whereas the city of Tallahassee promotes the arts as part of this vision of a Tallahassee as a vibrant capital city, whereas the beauty of our community is enhanced by all aspects of the arts, whereas a lively arts community promotes a strong sense of place and high quality of life, whereas arts activities foster well-being, creative thinking, a sense of camaraderie, and a generally productive outlook, whereas the city seeks to extend support of the arts within our organization and encourages participation in creative arts, and whereas the city of Tallahassee desires to provide a venue for City of Tallahassee employees and retirees to share and showcase their talents. Whereas since 2004, city leaders have supported the Tallahassee's own town show. Whereas the town show is a public exhibition of creative art dedicated to artworks crafted by talented artists who are city employees and retirees. Whereas the year 2014 marks the 10th annual town show. Now, therefore, I join our remarks by the virtue of the power and authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, do hereby applaud the creative talents of our city employees and retirees and proudly proclaim this day, Wednesday, July 2nd, 2014, as Town Show Day in Tallahassee, Florida, and do hereby recognize and thank all Town Show participants, past and present, for sharing their talents and enriching our city. And we definitely...
On behalf of the artists and the Town Show Committee, I gratefully accept this proclamation and thank you so much for all of your support over the years. And we're especially proud of our 10th anniversary. So it's hung today. So please, everyone, on your break and after this meeting, please step out and take a look at the art that we're so proud of. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd also like to thank COCA. Amanda's over here. And right there. And I'd also like to thank the city manager, whose germ of an idea I think this was 10 years ago. And she's been very supportive, and we appreciate all of y'all's help. Thank you.
Maybe after November, can I participate then after November?
Are you an artist, sir?
You have to be an artist?
You do have to be an artist, yes. Unless you want to volunteer to serve food or something like that.
Mr. Mayor, just very quickly, we've done this at other meetings, but I did want to recognize the new executive director of COCA, Dr. Audra Pittman. If she could just stand, everybody get to know Audra, because she's going to be around a long time.
Now I think we're supposed to get something from the league, Florida League of Cities. Florida League of Cities, come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Marks. I am Casey Cook. I am one of the Florida League of Cities lobbyists. I have with me my colleague Amber Hughes, who is another league lobbyist as well. Before I present the award to Commissioner Ziffer, I would like to recognize your team of lobbyists, Bill Peebles, John Wayne Smith, Sean Pittman, and Philip Singleton. You have an outstanding team, and thank you for working closely with us.
I will.
So I am here today to present Commissioner Ziffer with the 2014 Home Rule Hero Award. I'm sad to say I didn't bring a big trophy. Commissioner Ziffer already won one from the Northwest Florida League of Cities meeting. But I am here to present the Home Rule Hero Award. This award is given to local elected officials and city staff, to those folks that go above and beyond and help us in our advocacy efforts at the Capitol. So the award reads, for being a champion in the defense and protection of municipal home rule, the Florida League of Cities presents the 2014 Home Rule Hero to Commissioner Gil Ziffer from the City of Tallahassee. Thank you, Commissioner.
Just very quickly, because I know everybody wants to move on with this meeting. It's really easy to help with the lobbying over across the street when you have such an amazing group of people working for the Florida League of Cities who on a weekly basis and when necessary and on an individual basis brief us on what the needs are to protect home rule. So I want to thank the League for all they do because they make our jobs very easy. Thank you.
I just want to go. Somebody else.
Good afternoon. We're trying to double team here with the camera because, you know, with social media we are required to get pictures everywhere we go. One more Home Rule Hero Award that I would like to present today, and this is to Kent Olson. For those of you that don't know, Kent is the very quiet, very smart man that pretty much knows everything. He is the Deputy Treasurer Clerk, so he works with Jim Cook. And anyone who's sat through these meetings and anyone who's been involved in city government knows that cities deal with issues all across the board. I personally deal with finance and tax issues. I personally think they are the most difficult. But I am extremely lucky to have people such as Kent who are there who will answer my very detailed questions, who will get down in the weeds, and who will truly explain to me what the legislature is trying to do with very, very complex issues. And I truly appreciate his help. I think it's beneficial, obviously, to the League, beneficial to the city, but beneficial to all people who live in cities throughout Florida. So I'm extremely proud to present Kent Olson with the Home Rule Hero Award for 2014. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amber. I've had the honor and privilege to work with Florida League of Cities and Amber, especially over the last several years. And it's been a real honor to receive this, and very much, if there's an opportunity for me to help, I'm more than happy to do it. And I appreciate the Mayor and City Commission providing such a supportive environment here for city staff to do things with professional organizations and to assist with Florida League of Cities in particular here. And I'm especially grateful to my boss, Jim Cook, who has been encouraging and supportive as well for me to participate with Florida League of Cities and other professional organizations. So thank you very much.
I just have to add, this is, I know we stood and gave them, Commissioner Ziffer and a standing ovation. They deserve it. This is no small deal. This is a big deal because we've been trying, this League of Cities has been trying to protect home rule and the authority of local governments to be able to deliver services without the infringement and the encroachment of state government. And for Commissioner Ziffer, I want to thank you for your advocacy. And let's not forget, we have 110 cities.
420.
410, I'm sorry. 410 cities that could have possibly gotten this award.
That's good.
And we've got it. It's no small fact that we're in the capital that helps. But out of 410 cities with thousands of elected officials, we got this award. So it really is something. And we do have to defend. We do have to do everything we can to defend the home rule authority of local government. So thank you, Commissioner Ziffer, and I'm forgetting the name, but thank you very much from the staff. Thank you, Jim. Before we proceed, and I apologize, there are a group of young ladies here, a group of cute young ladies here too, that have been visiting us for today. And they're blushing now. Wow. Because they are cute and they're wonderful. I had a chance, Commissioner Miller and I had a chance to talk with them earlier. And you know they're going to be good because they're supervised by Christy Henry.
Right.
You know that. So will the divas please stand up and let us recognize you? You all are doing, Christy, you're doing a wonderful job with these young ladies, and I've seen them now for the last 2, 3, 4 years, and they've gone on to do some wonderful things, and you will always have my support with them regardless. And they had some very interesting questions for me today, too. I won't tell them all. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. I want to take a moment, too, to recognize our former Director of Neighborhood and Community Services. He's also an artist. Tom Lewis is in the back. Tom, raise your hand at least. Let us see where you are. Good to see you, Tom. Apparently, retirement is treating you well. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. We're on item number 8, which is citizen input on agenda items.
Mayor, we do not have any citizen input on agenda items. We do have Michael Gavin who marked citizen comment period, but I wanted to let him know that his topic is an unagended item, and so we'll take him with the other unagended speakers at the end of our meeting.
Sounds like a winner. Next item.
We're on consent.
Move consent.
Second. Properly moved and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Next item.
The next item is item number 11.01 under City Commission, and this is a review of the 2014 state legislative session and the outlook for 2015. And Mayor Marks, I assume you will introduce this item.
Yes, I will introduce this item. It's very easy for me to introduce this item because this is our legislative update and to let us in our outlook for the future as well. We have a group of lobbyists on our behalf over at the legislature who've just done an outstanding job. And I'm going to let my chief of staff, Max, has some comments that he would like to make regarding our lobbyists, our lobbying corps. Max.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager. Before we get into the presentation, just want to take one moment and thank my predecessor, Rick Miner, for his efforts, not only this past year, but for the past 3 or 4 years, working with the legislative agenda here at the city. He took what was already a well-run program and made it better. And so we're very appreciative of that. And secondly, I'd like to thank our lobbying team. Unfortunately, Ron Book was not able to make it today. Everything's okay, but he did have a slight emergency. But in his stead, we have Sean Pittman, Bill Peebles, and John Wayne Smith, and Philip Singleton. These are a great team of people. You hear it every year, and that's because it's true. These are the best lobbyists over the Capitol. They do an excellent job, 24/7, taking care of the city's business. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and ask Sean to come up and give you a briefing.
It's always nice to come up after somebody says the best, then you walk up. That's pretty good. Mr. Mayor, Madam Manager, Commissioners, thank you all for having us here today. It's always the highlight of our year to come and report, especially when we have a year like this year, where the legislature had a lot to work with, and they gave many of us an opportunity who have their ear to sort of direct them in ways that we think would be beneficial. As Max said, I'm accompanied by Bill Peoples, John Wayne Smith, and Philip Singleton, who sit just behind me. And we've been told to be brief, and we'll do our best to do that. But we will try to just hit highlights as we are talking about the state of Florida, and we are talking about a $77 billion budget, which we could actually talk all day about. But the highlights, the mayor says no. The highlights of which. $4 billion more this year than last year. The economy seems to be moving in our favor. You can see that by the legislature, each legislator, especially those in the majority, smiling every day over there, because it appears to be much easier to make decisions when you have more money. But I can tell you from knowing the leadership very well, that's not actually the case. It actually is much harder when you have money to make decisions than when you don't. They fully funded the Transportation Work Program, which is a program that will will renovate, do road projects with I-75, I-95, and I-4 to bring important jobs in those areas and infrastructure work that needs to be done. $167 million in affordable housing programs, almost fully funding ship and sale programs, fully funded libraries this year, very important and very different from past years. First year in a very long time that they funded cultural grants, and several communities have never stopped going for their cultural grants. This was a year that they benefited off of that persistence, because this is a first year, and I think for the next few years, this is something that we ought to take a good look at. Increased per student funding on education, increased funding in child welfare, which we've all been reading about some of the issues there. But they increased that so that there could be a rapid response time to child abuse reports and to and to deaths. For the purposes of Tallahassee, we were very interested in water projects, and we were able to secure $510,000 for 4th Avenue drainage improvements, $435,000 for Red Arrow abatement project. Again, like last year, a good year for water projects, and I think that will continue. The juvenile assessment centers fully funded, a good issue for us as well again this year. Mayor, your American First Christmas, halfway through the process in the legislature and through the conversations with leadership, we found that there's more than likely an administrative way to actually deal with that particular issue, and you'll get reports from us. We're working with the Department of Transportation on that.
Great.
But it's actually good news. It's not bad news. Some other major legislation, just to kind of hit it, and then I'm gonna hit a few things, and then I'm gonna ask Bill to come up on a couple of important issues. There was, of course, an economic development bill that passed again this year. Sales tax holiday, including hurricane preparedness, back to school, energy efficient appliances, sales tax exemption on child safety and bicycle helmets, reduction of vehicle registration and renewal fees. Okay. That did pass this year. I talked about child welfare. Early in the year, one of the first press conferences that they had over at the Capitol had to do with our veterans. And this legislature wanted to move in the direction of being the #1 state in the country as it relates to our veterans. So they passed a comprehensive package this year, they increased funding for the educational dollars for duty program, provide in-state tuition benefits for the discharged veterans, honorably discharged, expands veterans' preference in hiring. They waived a residency. This was a big one because Florida State and FAMU were behind this. They waived residency requirements for various professional licenses for veterans. Huge package that went that went through this year that they were very, very proud of. Homelessness, which I know we're always interested in here, they allocated $4 million for homelessness issues that will be used by DCF for challenge grants to help communities with education, with training, all the issues that are related to affordable housing. A legislative session is not always defined by what happened. Sometimes it's defined by what did not happen. And there was a few pieces of legislation that I know you were interested in that I should mention to you. There continues to be an attempt to get rid of the red light cameras in communities. That was avoided again this year, and although they didn't try to get rid of it totally, they did try to regulate what cities can do as it relates to the dollars that come from that. Springs legislation. There were versions of Springs legislation that would have included elements regulating septic tanks, fertilizer, and stormwater runoff. That was defeated, and it would have had it passed, would have had a significant impact on the city of Tallahassee, even above and beyond some others. The last thing that I will talk about, and I'll ask Bill if he will come for this as well, because it was really a team effort. And Bill leading this effort in defeating the legislation that would have eliminated the water surcharge and would have limited your ability to charge customers outside of your boundaries. When that failed, it was a big success. And Bill, if you'll, I'm just alluding to you because you're the man on this. But a huge issue that I know many of you were aware of was floating through the legislature, and at the end of the day, City of Tallahassee was standing strong against that. Bill?
Mayor, Commissioners, Manager, hey Lou. It's nice to be here when the league came over to recognize Commissioner Ziffer and Kent, who works for Jim. But just sitting here, it struck me, that you are all home rule heroes. I looked across the dais here, and I don't think there's anybody up here that I haven't called on either this year or in past years for help. I asked Commissioner Maddox came over and talked to a chairman with me. Commissioner Gillum's reached out to the university. Mayor in the past has provided much against his will utilities council for us and for other folks over there. Commissioner Miller's helpful on water issues and environmental planning issues. So, and your staff, of course, maybe it's geography, but it's easy to pick the phone up and call anybody anywhere. But your staff, Lou, and a lot of lawyers who work for Lou, people who work for Jim, and a lot of other members of your staff are just really, home rule heroes is not an overstatement. Everybody who works for the city of Tallahassee is just really good, not just in supporting your lobbying team, but in supporting the League of Cities and municipal issues generally. And I just thought it was worth pointing out that while Commissioner Ziffer got the award this year, every one of you deserved the award every year. It's really true. And I've been representing you guys a long time, and I've seen you all and your predecessors come across, even when you didn't want to, Mayor. So I'm glad to be here tonight. Sean's right. It was sort of a busy utility year. There were 3 local bills. None of them were directly aimed at the city of Tallahassee, but they were aimed at utilities that looked just like you. One of them would have taken water, wastewater, electric, and natural gas utility away from a city commission and given it to a special district that the bill created. That bill wasn't heard. One of them would have required the Public Service Commission to revise territory agreements that would have had the effect of taking away a substantial portion of a city's allocated electric service area. That bill was not heard. And finally, almost perennial, there was a bill that would have regulated a municipal electric utility, and that bill was not heard either. So a really good year in that respect. None of those bills were even granted a hearing in the Florida legislature. Folks recognized, I think, that they were partly in response to local issues and needed to be dealt with locally, but they also recognized them as just fundamentally bad ideas. And so that was a very successful part of the utilities year. The other piece that Sean alluded to was a general bill that would have eliminated surcharges, put municipal water and wastewater utilities under the Public Service Commission. I used to think that the best thing that could happen to bills like that was that they not be heard in committee, and I guess theoretically that's still the best thing. This year the bill was heard in committee, though, and we beat it, and I'll tell you that's more satisfying than not having it heard. The bill, when it's a senior Republican who advocated for the legislation, but again, it was recognized as just such a profoundly bad idea, a bill that was a bill of general application across the state, but aimed at one particular problem. And so, as I said, the bill was defeated and never heard in the Senate. So it was defeated in the House Utilities Committee. The other issue that I usually wind up talking to you folks about is campus development agreements, campus master plan stuff. And that issue, I told you before session that we thought, because the House Appropriations Chairman had a particular interest in that issue, that we thought we would probably see it again. And this is another instance where your staff and some people who work for Lou and other folks on your staff were very helpful in helping analyze issues related to campus development agreements, which are the way that the campus, that your universities mitigate off-site impacts. The issue never came to a head, and I sort of think I know why. The reason is because part of what had happened to that is that the funding source had dried up for funding the off-site mitigation that's required by those development agreements. And at the same time, the primary source of funding for university development, the Public Education Capital Outlay Fund, was feeling incredible pressure. There was very little PICO money. And what happened this year is they found a way to invent a bunch of new PICO money. And it relieved the pressure both on university construction as well as on the campus master plan issue, because now there is enough money for universities when they get construction money to go ahead and mitigate off-site impacts as part of the appropriation. So that issue didn't come to a head this year. In fact, what the legislature did, and this was an effort that was led primarily by the Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam, was to essentially redesignate about $200 million annually of sales tax money as gross receipts tax money. Gross receipts is what funds the Public Education Capital Outlay Fund. So there is a lot of new money for campus construction. That inevitably will have a significant impact here. And I believe that as long as that designation of that kind of money for PICO remains in the law, and I think it will for a good long while, then the issue of the campus development agreements will not be as acute and maybe will not become a legislative issue. That's probably enough. We were told to be brief. That was brief-ish.
That was good.
It's an honor. It's really a pleasure to represent you guys, and I appreciate it again.
And Mayor, we want to, on behalf, Ron's not here. Ron Kelly and Ron aren't here, but we don't have to tell you how hard they work. They're an important part of this team, and we at least want to let you know that that they want us to say to you that they're a great part of our team, and they wish they could be here. Mr. Mayor, we want to thank you and your office. You all are a great support for us. Rick and Max are incredible to work with. Madam Manager, allowing us to work with some of your division heads and folks, getting them to come over to the Capitol when we need them. Mr. Treasurer coming over when we needed him. So thank you all very much for the support. We can't do what we do without your help. So thank you very much.
I just got a couple of comments. First of all, I didn't know really what all that went on with the veterans, and that was very pleasant for me to hear, because that's something that's kind of near and dear to me, that we do something, because I've been involved with our veterans now for quite a while. And so I hope we can do something here in the city, and we will try and do something with the city. Also, I want to say something else. You know, we often have an opportunity. We go over there and we sometimes are critical of the legislators and the legislative process. But I think we all have to be mindful that that process is really a democratic process that's really probably the best that's ever devised anywhere. And notwithstanding your political persuasion, things get done in the final analysis. Things get done. You may not like who did it or how they did it or what was done, but things get done. And our form of government sustains itself. It sustains itself. And we have to have, sometimes those individuals have to have, the legislators have to have assistance. And I have to go over there, and you and the lobbyists go over there. But we do really, in the whole, it really is a good job well done by our legislature. So I give them credit for that. And I think they do a really very, very good job in doing that. And what they were alluding to when they said about me and my appearance over there, I tell them every year I have a successful legislative session if I don't go over there. So did I go over this year?
Yes, you did.
I didn't make you.
All right, y'all failed. Okay.
You did go.
All right. Good to see you. Commissioner Gillum had his hand up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks again, Sean and Bill and Ronnie in his absence and you all's team for what you've done. I want to call out two things specifically. One, thank you all for your help in the behind-the-scenes help and continuing help on this land swap with Florida State University. It's a tricky deal. It had involvement from the legislature, the cabinet, clearly the universities and the local government. And on occasion when we needed you, you all showed up and have been helping us move that. It's not done yet, so I wanted to say that because it's not done yet. And there is still more work to do. And then on the Palmer Monroe Teen Center, which is probably one of the few collaborative that's also funded by the state in addition to the jurisdictions. We just got word last week that of all of the projects that they were compared against in this region, the work that's being done at the Palmer Monroe Teen Center ranked #1. And that was over some 80 or so projects, which is awesome. But I also know that it would not have been possible but for the great relationship building that we've been able to do with Secretary Wansley Walters, who I believe maybe today or yesterday was her last day. But I know you all have a relationship with the incoming Secretary, Christy Daly, and just want to underscore the need to keep that going. And then I said two things. The last thing, a third thing, is in whatever we can do, and we welcome your advice on this, to help Tallahassee be seen by these state legislators and the governor and cabinet members as, in part, their home, that they can adopt some of the concerns that we have from their policy around state travel. The airport, Commissioner Maddox has been working diligently on, but he probably would say this for himself, but with the state restricting their employees from using airliners for anywhere within 4 hours distance travel, I mean, you can get almost anywhere in Central Florida into another hub. You can go to Atlanta almost in that period of time, Central Florida and below. We need some relief on that, and I think the more we can help them realize that they're here too. Our growth is dependent upon theirs. In many ways, I think it could be a help. But whatever advice you all have as we enter this next legislative year and the work that has to happen in between. We also had the issue of state government buildings that Commissioner Maddox raised. And there are many others, but I think it fundamentally has to do with the governor, the cabinet, and legislators seeing themselves in Tallahassee as their capital city of the fourth largest state in the union, as much as it is us being able to reach out and do that. So I think that's the next hurdle, and I hope you all will be in position to help us overcome that.
Commissioner Gillum, that's a great comment, and what you're recognizing is something that I think is even more important than you're emphasizing. We spent some time on this 2 summers ago, with Speaker Weatherford, and talked extensively about doing an interim study to study other states and the support that they have of capitals. We ended up putting a halt to it for one reason and one reason only. And as a trained lawyer, we learned early that you don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. And we don't know the answer to that question but we're quietly trying to find out before there's some formal study on what's done. Because as we have tried, and when the mayor first became mayor, that was the effort in the initiatives that he was putting forth with their first week in town, is trying to make them realize that the capital city is a capital city because they're here, and that the burden that the city has of taking on the whole responsibility, particularly when state government, their buildings are also off our tax rolls, their negative impact on us is much more significant than their positive impact. So it is a huge issue that I think the full commission and staff, the city of Tallahassee, the county has to take issue with this, and we have to hold hands together and go over and have some conversations with governor and leadership, no matter who they are, in order to have an impact on it. But I thank you for bringing it up because it is a really, really important issue.
It is. Commissioner Miller.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, I do want to thank you sincerely for all that you did, but there are a couple things that I just really, truly appreciated. The cultural grant piece, that was so important to our community and to our formerly Tallahassee Little Theater, Theater Tallahassee, which is really undergoing a phenomenal makeover. The grant that you all were able to help them to get, $475,000, is going to go forward to help them renovate the entire structure, and critical funding. Also, John G. Riley Museum got a nice grant from the state as well. So I very much appreciate that particular piece of your work this year. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Bill Peoples for, during all of this, his yeoman's work on our sales tax citizens committee. I mean, it was just a phenomenal job and took a lot of time. And I know personally that because I stayed in touch with him during the time, I know he really spent a lot of time on that. And you actually have a day job that's pretty demanding. So appreciate that very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And let us, we helped with that some, but let us give credit to the folks at John G. Riley, at Altamese Barnes. She's her own lobbyist. We know. She's in the hallway and she'll grab you and say, "Hey, come with me." That's how she does it. And the folks at Tallahassee Little Theater, they had their legs on the ground as well. So it is a great day when the state starts to put money back into those type of programs.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. I thought of this when we mentioned Ron, who's not here. While we're recognizing people who aren't here who were helpful, let me just say that both Representative Williams and Representative Ray Winkle-Vasalinda served on the Utilities Committee, where all of those utilities bills that I described to you came up. Not only did they both vote against the bad bill, but they both really helped. I mean, they pitched in and were really helpful on that. And so if you see them, give them a little thanks.
Will do.
They were really good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And Senator Montford would have been, but it was never heard in the Senate.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Very good update. Next item. Excuse me.
The next item is item number 12.01, introductions of ordinance. We have two of them this evening, and the city attorney will handle those.
Item 12.01 is introduction of ordinance number 14-Z-30. It's a proposed amendment to the Albertson Plan Use Development Concept Plan. The applicant is requesting an amendment to the existing Albertson PUD concept plan located on 5 acres on the southeast corner of North Monroe Street and Bradford Road. The first and only public hearing is scheduled for August 27th, 2014. It is not scheduled for July the 9th as stated in the agenda material, so this will be heard for public hearing on August 27th. Let me read you the title of the ordinance. Ordinance number 14-Z-30, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending Albertson's Planned Unit Development Concept Plan on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission. And that will be heard on August 27. If I have a motion to move that adopted.
Second.
Introduce us.
It's introduced. Show it introduced.
Item number 12.02 is introduction of ordinance 14-Z-32. It's a proposed amendment to the official zoning map to change the zoning classification from Leon County Residential Preservation Zoning District to the City of Tallahassee Residential Preservation 2 Zoning District. This item changes the zoning on Kings Mill subdivision, a 10.14 acre parcel on Thomasville Road at Kimmer Road Drive, which was recently annexed into the city. The rezoning is from a Leon County Residential Preservation Zoning District to City Residential Preservation 2 Zoning District. The first of two public hearings is scheduled for July 9th, a week from tonight, 2014, and the second final public hearing is scheduled for August 27th, 2014. Reading the title into the record, it is ordinance number 14-Z-32. It's an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as and in Residential Preservation 2 on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission. If I have a...
It's introduced.
Introduced. That's it for the introduction of ordinance. Mayor. Manager.
The next item is 13.01, approval of proposed legal settlement, and the city attorney will introduce this item.
Just very quickly, clearly I have a conflict of interest in this particular matter, so I'm going to excuse myself from voting, and I'm also going to remove myself from chambers.
You had a conflict? A little bit. Okay. Mr. City Attorney, please give us the information regarding this matter.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is item number 13.01. It is seeking the Commission's approval of proposed settlement of a claim brought by Gail Stansberry Ziffer. In June of 2010, Ms. Gail Stansberry Ziffer was walking her dog with a friend on Four Oaks Boulevard in the Southwood area of town when she tripped and fell over a 2-inch raised area of sidewalk and fell onto her right knee. The force of the fall caused the head and ball socket of her right hip joint to fracture in 2 different places. As a result of her injuries, the orthopedic surgeon performed an open reduction fixation, which required the placement of a rod from her right femur head, that's the right side, the large bone at the top that goes into the hip, down towards her right knee joint. The rod was secured with a plate and 2 screws near the femur head, in addition to the metal wiring to secure the rod and to the femur shaft. And I might add that this amount of hardware was not temporary. It is permanent and remains inside the claimant. As a result of the incident in question, Ms. Stansberry Ziffer was hospitalized in excess of 3 weeks and participated in physical therapy for over several months. She was not able to drive for many months. Despite the foregoing therapy, she had to undergo orthoscopic surgery on her right knee, which required additional physical therapy and recovery. For a 6-month period during this recovery, she had to have daily shots in her stomach to make sure that the blood clotting in her leg did not reach vital organs in her body. As a result of all these injuries, Ms. Ziffer's right leg is approximately 3/4 to 1 inch shorter than her left leg, which has caused and will continue to cause additional discomfort and pain. It's also required the placement of stairs and handicap accessible equipment in her home. In addition to her physical and emotional pain, she can no longer walk extended distances, jog, play with grandchildren the way she could before, and participate in various sports and charitable activities in a way that she certainly did before. Unfortunately, as a result of the foregoing accident, Ms. Ziffer continues to experience some extensive pain in her right hip with restricted motion, which has led her orthopedic surgeon to recommend further surgery to replace the hardware in her right hip and or in the alternative to perform a total hip replacement. And this has been confirmed by our risk management folks with a second opinion by Dr. Riley at Duke University Medical Center. Ms. Ziffer's total medicals to date are approximately $130,000. Her out-of-pocket expenses are in the neighborhood of $6,000. Her future medical expenses could be in excess and probably will be at least $50,000 depending on the number of surgeries and amount of therapy she has to have on her right hip and possibly her left leg. In looking at this case, we, in terms of comparative fault, and that's something that our risk manager in the city attorney's office always does, we looked at a 57-year-old active woman who was walking her dog on a clear day. She did not have her phone on, was not talking on the phone, was not texting. She had walked generally in the area before, but it was not her usual route. The city investigator claimed through its third-party investigator that it normally uses in personal injury cases, who took Ms. Ziffer's statement, investigated the scene, took photographs, interviewed city employees, obtained medical records, reviewed work orders, and performed all the normal functions that our contract outside third-party entity does in these type of cases. The city did take into account an accident that occurred in the same general area a few months earlier involving a problem with a sidewalk in a very close location, which was settled for the amount of $35,000. In addition, we have certainly had a number of slip and falls accidents over the last 10 or 15 years that I've been involved in these type of cases, and we recognize that this is probably the most severe slip and fall injury that the city of Tallahassee has experienced in that period of time. We've looked at it in terms of the value of the case in the city attorney's office and also in the risk manager's office based on past medical expenses, likely future medical expenses, her pain and suffering, other elements of her change in her lifestyle is likely to remain for the remainder of her life. Usually, the rule of thumb is 3 times the special damages would give us a settlement range in this case between $400,000 and $500,000, with at a minimum, if you use the rule of thumb that most claimants lawyers do use, which is 5 times, the range would be between $500,000 and $800,000. We looked at it from the angle of a jury, perhaps if it goes to trial, that there could be a minimum of or a maximum of 50% comparative fault involved. The settlement provides that any future medical issues or damages would be solely the responsibility of Ms. Ziffer, other than what the insurance company might pay in the future, and all proceeds that she might get from the settlement, but she would be required to take care of all outstanding balances and liens with her carrier and with any other medical providers that are not covered by insurance. I've had a number of questions from citizens in the community. I want to address just a few of them and then certainly take any questions. One question has been the issue of, this is in Southwood, who built the sidewalks and how did it happen that the city took ownership and maintenance of this. This does, in fact, go back for several years. There was a policy change back in 2008 when the Commission approved a policy of allowing subdivisions that had sidewalks that were not in ADA compliance, and certainly a situation with a sidewalk where one end of it is approximately two inches higher in comparison to the particular plane that adjoins it, would be violating ADA requirements. And we allowed, vis-a-vis a city policy that was adopted at that time, for the city to go ahead and accept the sidewalks, and at the same time accept a fee in lieu of the developer correcting them all themselves. So in 2008, we accepted responsibility. St. Joe developer paid us $125,000 as the fee in lieu of, and it became our responsibility. I've also had a number of questions about slip and falls and to the extent to which we have paid money in the past for premises liability, and by that I mean not only in our particular buildings but on our property, which would include sidewalks, include parks and rec. And we have records that go back to 2001 on this point. We've had, since 2001, about 111 claims on physical defects in sidewalks. We've actually paid on 30 of those claims in what's about a 13-year period, and we've paid a total of $271,000 to date on those kind of claims. The one additional question in terms of general premises liability, just so you have some idea of the number of claims that the city gets and are reviewed and dealt with by the Risk Management Office. In the same time period, and this does not involve any kind of vehicular accidents, which are our largest source of claims, we've had approximately 336 claims, and we paid on 64 of those for a total amount of settlement monies amounting to about $567,000. I know there's concern that if we own the sidewalks and we've had a couple of accidents in this area, what have we done to fix the problem and solve the problem? I'm going to give you the short answer on that. If you have further questions, Gabe Menendez can certainly address that. The reality is that this community loves sidewalks and walking and bicycle riding, and it loves trees. And almost every development puts a lot of trees very close to sidewalks. And depending on those types of trees, as they grow, the root systems buckle sidewalks. And the reality is, if we put a lot more money than we have currently budgeted and had available to budget in the past, we could probably assure you that we could fix all the sidewalks problems and keep them fixed and not have any more of these kind of accidents. But given the number and miles of sidewalks, given the budget restraints, given the amount of trees that we want in our parks and areas where we have sidewalks, it is likely we're going to continue to have a significant number of these accidents. And that's probably the reality. We certainly, when we receive a complaint, whether it be vis-a-vis digitality or a phone call to Public Works or Risk Management or City Attorney's Office, we certainly send somebody out immediately to look at it and assess what can be done to fix it if we truly believe ourselves that it needs to be fixed or it's creating a problem. And we do everything from total replacement to grinding down sidewalks. But there's thousands of miles of sidewalks in this city and thousands of trees adjacent to them. Now, with respect to this type of claim, this is the largest claim that I'm aware of that the city has paid for a premise liability case. And there have been questions raised in terms of is there any responsibility or is there any issue concerning the physical limitation or problem on behalf of the claimant that needs to be considered in this? The answer, after reviewing all the medical records in this case, is there is no particular medical condition or any physical condition that contributed to the severe damage that occurred when she fell and hit the sidewalk. Even if there was, it would not be a factor legally that we could consider in awarding damages or trying to settle the case. We have had, over the last 10 years, a variety of premise liability cases. We have paid $85,000 to a child that slipped on what we later discovered was a piece of concrete underneath a swing set. We paid $40,000 and $35,000 on claims involving sidewalks or holes in landscapes, and a variety of claims from $18,000 up to $40,000. It is unusual that a fall like this caused the damage that it did. That was totally unpredictable on the claimant's part and totally unpredictable on our part. Let me say finally, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. I know the risk manager and folks in her department and our claims adjuster and the city attorney's office have attempted to treat this claimant fairly and as we would any other citizen or guest in this community. I'll remind you that 2 weeks ago we paid $100,000 to a homeless lady on a consent agenda because she had been bumped by a solid waste truck and we had dragged her several yards and resulting in a major infection in her body. This was investigated by a third-party claims adjuster in the same manner, the same interviewing, same document gathering as we would expect in any personal injury or property damage case. We try to settle these cases and all cases before they file suit in court if we think we can settle them reasonably. We do that as a matter of course. We do pre-suit mediation in all large cases because the reality is once suit is filed, the amount of expense both for the city and for the claimant goes sky high. So it is not unusual that we try to settle cases and do everything we can to settle cases before trial. I'm going to stop there. I have the risk managers here, Jim Floyd, the attorney in my office who's dealt primarily with cases here, the attorney for Ms. Ziffer's here. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that I haven't already answered.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I think that is a very, very thorough review of what happened in this matter. I know all of us have had an opportunity to go over it, and your comments that we didn't try and treat this any differently from any other citizens, a little bit inaccurate because normally we would not go through this process and present it in this manner before our citizens, but we felt it necessary to do so because of the nature of the claim. And that's why we're going through it detail by detail. We want to make sure that our citizens understand that in reality, Ms. Ziffer is not being treated any differently than any other claimant in a matter such as this. But we wanted to go through the process so that individuals would understand. And as the city attorney explained, we are a city of sidewalks and trees. We love them both. And you may not find these kinds of incidents in other locales where we don't have sidewalks or trees or both. But nevertheless, 111 over a certain period of time kind of speaks for itself. And with that, anybody else? Commissioner Miller?
Well, I just wanted to ask, it says here, and excuse me for not knowing the answer to this, but it says her total damages for past and future medical expenses and pain and suffering has a potential exposure in excess of statutory cap limits, and those limits are $200,000. How much are they?
Well, as long as they flowed from the accident, if this case went to trial, they would certainly be putting on orthopedic physicians as expert to testify what's likely to happen over a lifetime as a result of this injury. Okay. We know the $50,000 is almost a sure thing. We know that she's going to have a hip replacement or significant.
I'm sorry,
her question was
Mr. City Attorney. That's not my question. I was asking. I asked what the statutory cap limit was.
$200,000 per instance under sovereign immunity, but it does not cover our legal fees.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Maddox. The other thing comment that I have is that I think that in this particular case, you said we were treating Ms. Stansberry-Ziffer the same as everybody else, and I don't agree with that. I think we are treating her much more rigorously than we would have been treating anyone else. And just because of the sensitivity of this particular item. And with that, I would like to make a motion to approve the proposed settlement.
Second.
Any other comments? Commissioner Maddox.
I agree. I concur, but I want to make sure that I'm correct on this. I'll go through them just real quick, Mr. Shelley, if we could. Likeliness of success should we go to court. Do you feel like the city has liability here?
I think the city has clear liability in this case. We had a previous case, 3 months, same issues, same concern that we paid money on. There's always some likelihood that the claimant would be shared a portion of the liability as contributory negligence. But even assuming 50-50, the range of likelihood a jury would come back in far exceeds $100,000.
And of course, our legal fees would be
and that doesn't
much higher than that.
Our legal fees.
These dollars are for medical or future medical needs that are outside of insurance coverage, correct?
Well, the amount of insurance coverage in this case, we don't actually know. What we do know is that, as in all cases like this, the claimant is totally responsible for to the hospitals, to the doctors. And then, of course, the insurance company will either by limitation, by policy, percentage, or certain level for particular kinds of surgeries, for example, they will try to negotiate with the providers to get what is owed down. And it could be anywhere between 40% and 70% of what the actual fees are. And then, of course, Ms. Ziffer is totally responsible what's not covered by that, and certainly should be responsible for in the future for what insurance wouldn't cover if there's additional medical fees and costs.
Are we comfortable that the plaintiff did not have a pre-existing condition that would absolve the city from liability?
Yes, we're absolutely comfortable on that. We have extensive medical history on the claimant and examination by various medical experts on that issue.
Well, then for me, it's simple. We have clear-cut liability. We've heard we have clear-cut liability. To oppose it would end up spending more taxpayer dollars for likely the same result. So I support the motion. I'd also like to see come back a plan. It's troubling since we have two incidents that have occurred in the same area. I'd like to see what our plan is to limit our liability in that area.
Okay. That's more, Commissioner?
Yeah, I appreciate the line of questioning that's taking place. I had a similar sort of list on my end to make this point clear. I also want to associate myself with Commissioner Miller's comment that typically this probably would have been on a consent agenda. You all would have done your due diligence, investigated it, and determined whether or not we had any legal liability and made a recommendation, and it would have gone through. In this case, given clearly the relationship between one of our colleagues, we're at this place. I trust the amount of investigation that's going on into this. I will tell you, I am concerned about our future liability on the city's infrastructure. Someone had asked me, would it help if the city hadn't had sidewalks in the first place? So if you had passed and didn't have sidewalks. Now, different conversation because it's that neighborhood and every street is lined with a sidewalk there. But I do think we've got to, now that this has been dealt with in such a public way, we could have increased incidents, we could have fraudulent incidents, you could have any range of things that are coming forward. And I would like for your legal office to provide us some guidance on a way forward when it comes to public infrastructure, streets, stormwater and utility easements, sidewalks, and how we're supposed to deal with that going forward. Because if we had a suit for every time someone, encountered an incident like this, even though this may be at the extremes, the damages may be at the extremes of these incidences, we would be dealing with this on a pretty regular basis. And if it is your office's sort of guidance to where we have some exposure or liability exposure to seek to settle, even that begins to rack up. Right. So we got to get our hands around this more broadly. With regard to the particulars of Ms. Stansberry-Ziffer's incident, I completely accept the guidance that you all have given on this and the deep, thorough investigative work that you've done to arrive at that conclusion.
Thank you. And I think you can expect, and we've seen this happen when we've had other kinds of particular incidents, including not too far back when we had a drowning incident, we're going to get, or very well may get, a lot of our citizens letting us know of situations that are out there that they didn't let us know about before. So we're going to need to be prepared to address that, because obviously if we know of situations now that we didn't know before that are reported because of the publicity of this particular case, then we're going to have to deal with those. And we'll be happy to work with Public Works and the risk manager in terms of our recommendations on how to deal with those.
Well, I mean, there'll be a recommendation, which I imagine will be fix them, and that's going to have a huge. But I mean, I could walk down my own street, right, at my office in the neighborhood, right, and start pointing issues out. The question is how we are going to be able to deal with them in a responsible way. Right. Would we be in the legal clearing if we said we were made aware and then had a plan toward fixing them? I don't know what the particulars are, and you don't have to answer them now. But I do think that's something we're going to have to pay attention to as we go forward.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion and a second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. It passes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
The next item is 2.02, approval of purchase for replacement energy management system, RFP, and supplemental appropriation. And Commissioners, this item is dealing with the purchase of a piece of equipment. You will know the equipment. It is called a SCADA, officially Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, and also our energy management system. And these are pieces of equipment used in the electric utility. The purchase includes both the replacement of SCADA EMS and a 10-year maintenance and support agreement with the vendor. The SCADA EMS is utilized to control and monitor the city's electric grid system and ensure that the system is being operated in the most cost-effective manner. Rob McGarrett is here to answer any questions you might have on this item.
Move approval.
Got a second?
Yes, sir. Second.
Second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, I'm going to try and last through this portion, but next item.
Motion passed.
The next item is 13.03, authorization to partner with FAMU's International Environmental Summit. And Commissioners, Florida A&M University will be hosting an International Environmental Summit here in Tallahassee in March of 2015. The summit is projected to attract an audience of over 1,000 people, including attendees internationally from Africa, Europe, North and South America, and the Caribbean. FAMU has requested that the city co-host or co-sponsor the conference and also provide support to help achieve the objectives of the summit. Members of the university's faculty and staff have met with city staff and also with city commissioners. The summit will be a great boost to our local economy, obviously, and will also help to reinforce the city's desire to be a municipal leader in the field of sustainability and the development of livable communities. We have with us in attendance today our Chief of Staff for the President, Shamus Abdi, and I also see the Dean of the School of Environment, whose name I cannot pronounce. Will you say it for me, sir? Okay.
Good enough.
And Cynthia Barber will provide comments on this item if you have any questions. We will be basically funding this initiative through the EPER budget and also our DMS budget if necessary. We think it's a very positive step for partnership, and hope you will approve it.
Move approval.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, would it be appropriate to get a couple of comments on? I met with it's good to see the FAMU representatives here. I met with Dr. Mangum yesterday and brought this up in the potential for spin-off economic development as well as the establishment of Florida A&M University as a sort of premier point of reference on issues around food, water, food security, and other environmental issues is really rich. And I'm wondering if maybe we can take 2 minutes to hear about the proposed conference.
Yes.
Sure. Go right ahead. Excuse me, Cynthia, but I'm going to take leave. Excuse me, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Victor Ibanusi. I make the case that there's no better state than the state of Florida to host this summit. There's no better state. The state is very ideal for an international summit on 3 vexing questions: energy, water, and food nexus. I want to keep your focus on the outcome of this summit. This is not a conference. It's a summit that has tangible outcomes. One of those include establishing an international scholars in residence program. This is what we want to partner with the city as the hub for training the next generation of students that can focus their research on energy, water, and food. We want to have as an outcome a private sector global network as a platform for bringing resources to bear on these kinds of research that could lead to commercialization and deployment. The other item, one of the outcomes also is to support student projects that focus on bridging the gaps on energy, water, and food. These are tangible outcomes that the city will have great benefits to serve as the hub for innovation and technology on these 4 issues.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Right.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming to visit us tonight, both of you. And next year is going to be, would have normally been our turn to host an environmental summit. We take turns with the county, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to partner with you on this project, which has such a huge opportunity as far as attracting tourists to our city, and hopefully they will discover Tallahassee. So thank you very much. I know that you've moved the conference to Tallahassee. It was supposed to be in another part of Florida. Orlando. And of course, we're very excited about that. So appreciate the opportunity. And I know we'll be hearing a lot more about this.
Should be great. Thank y'all.
Just a quick comment in the mayor's absence, because I know he would want to say something. I can't think in the state of Florida a better place to do this when you consider all the effort and dollars invested that we have put into our utility. Not to mention that whether by accident or by planned, being the level of natural gas that we are, that we're very efficient and we're environmentally sound utility. So I can't think of a better place. We welcome and we look forward to hosting the summit. Next item.
Did you need to vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did we not vote?
You got a motion and second. No vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay.
Next item.
The next item is 13.04, approval of ranking of dental and vision providers. And commissioners, in March.
Second. And just with one comment, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, want to commend staff for going out. As you know, I've been pushing on getting more RFPs. This had not been put out over a 7-year period and is put out now, and we got many 13 respondents.
Excellent.
And which I think will be result in a better process.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item, please.
The next item is 13.05, approval to accept donation of artwork for Discovery Area at Cascades Park. And Commissioners, First Commerce Credit Union, who's been a great partner with us, as you know, in Cascades Park, and who is the major sponsor of the Discovery Area at Cascades Park, has offered to donate an art piece by the artist Paul Tamanian. Say it again. Tamanian. To be placed in the area of the park. Your approval is requested to accept the donation at this time. And Jan Sheffield with First Commerce Credit Union and both Ashley Edwards is also here to answer any questions that you might have on this item. We don't have the actual art piece yet. It will be an original piece that will be designed for us. Is that correct, Ms. Sheffield? But this might be a great opportunity for Ms. Sheffield just to come and say hello to us. And tell us about the piece.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Commissioners, thank you very much for this opportunity. How's that?
Better.
I did bring some pictures for you to just look at. These are previous sculptures by Paul. Whatever our sculpture ends up is still in his imagination somewhere. So we will work very closely with Parks and Rec and whoever we need to ensure that it is placed in a good area in Discovery, that it is safe for that environment, that it is as least likely for someone to want to climb on or deface. And it's just our way of putting a little crowning touch on an area that we are extremely proud of. Love Discovery, love Cascade Park, and this is our way of saying thank you for letting us be a partner in this. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your good work and the good work of First Commerce.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gillum.
Yeah, I can't afford a Tamanian, but I know a lot of people who have them in their homes, and pretty popular in a lot of offices and in homes in the city. So it's good to be able to promote a local artist who has achieved much broader acclaim. I maybe because I have lawsuits fresh on the mind, but we've had issues with the monuments, the Korean War Memorial that's out there, and other fixtures in the park being perceived as sort of playground equipment. And I guess my concern with this being sort of adjacent, and I realize First Commerce's investment in the Discovery Garden, but its close proximity to the Discovery Garden gives me a little bit of pause around the placement. So I just want to hear, probably, I'm guessing, Ashley, you probably have looked closely at this. Just want to hear from you all the thinking. These are sharp edges. It's attractive for playing, but it's art.
We have actually picked a place that we believe will not be so attractive to the kids playing in Discovery. It's on the opposite side of the sidewalk, but in that area. It is between three huge boulders that would be very difficult, number one, to get on. But once you see the pictures and you see, it's not very nice to touch. And we have talked with Paul about the security measures, and what he's going to do is put the pictures that you're looking at are on the ground. This one will not start until it gets to the 6 feet up. It will be high, taller than 6 feet when the sculpture begins.
Oh, got it.
So, which will require us to work very carefully with the city on making sure that it goes down far enough to hold it up, too. It's very heavy. But we've looked at all of those things because it's our kids that are playing there.
Right.
And Commissioner Miller?
I would love to guarantee that somebody's not going to be stupid, but I can't do that.
We can't
Commissioner
legislate brain power. Well, Jan, I just want to thank you and First Commerce Credit Union so much for not only this offering, but for all of the energy, time, financing that you've put into Discovery. And I'll take this opportunity to recognize Audra Pittman again, too, because she was in a major. Who's next to you? I can't see her. And thank you, Amanda. All of what you've done here has been, the Discovery Garden has been just wonderful, and everyone loves it. So you're going to always feel so good. All of us feel so good when we walk by there, but I really, really appreciate everything you've done to make that possible.
Thank you. We truly appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it.
Good.
We had about a month ago where we had a presentation on art in a public place that we'll be doing at the Woodward Roundabout at Gaines Street. We're having the discussion today about this. Commissioner Miller, as you may recall, in our target issue group,
That's right.
We've talked about the fact that we probably need to start to develop a little firmer policy on how we actually accept these, because it seems like people in our community are recognizing that art in public places is something that we ought to probably do a little bit more of. So we thank you very much for starting what we hope will be more people stepping forward to do this in our community. Dr. Pittman, your name mentioned again. I know that we're going to be meeting to start to develop that policy. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Before you go on,
yes.
I just wanted to let you know that today we found out that we actually have worked on a policy similar to just what you have been describing, but it's never been codified. And in fact, our staff worked with Amanda, is my understanding.
Oh, good.
And so we have a good starting place to finish that up and have something brought to you really soon.
All the better.
Thank you, team.
Thank you again, First Commerce Credit Union. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
The next item is our target issue update, and we have one this evening, and that is the Long Range Planning Target Issue Committee report, and Commissioner Miller will give that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Well, we had a very exciting meeting on, as they always are, Commissioner Maddox and I, on Monday, and we had two speakers right away on the topic of what, can you imagine now that you're warmed up on it, sidewalks. Mr. Ferguson, David Ferguson from O'Brien Drive in Killearn came in to speak to us, and also Ms. Virginia Daly from Live Oak Plantation Road. We moved on from there to discuss the expansion of the Downtown Improvement Authority. That's been before our long-range planning target issue committee before, and we had sent them out because more work needed to be done. Number one, making sure that all of the existing property owners within the existing boundaries were notified and asked if they had any issues with the expansion. They have done so, and there were no issues raised. The staff had to go and get a formal positive response from the state of Florida because several of the properties that will be brought into the district, if this is approved, are state properties, and they have received that positive response, and they are expecting a response from Florida State University in the near future. The staff, Mr. Wayne Tedder and Mr. Wayne Tedder from our staff, and Jay Revel, the executive director of the Tallahassee Downtown Improvement Authority, both asked if they could go forward to the full commission, and we directed them to take this to you either you'll have a formal policy introduction either on July 9th, hopefully, and a public hearing on August 27th of this year. All right. Next, we had made an agenda mod to add this particular item, and because we needed to give our legal office the authority to go forward and set up the stakeholders group for the sound ordinance. I think if you've heard me report before that it was determined that we needed to put together a group of business leaders and also neighborhood leaders. That list is in the process of being compiled, and Mr. Shelley is the lead staff on that, his office. And he also gave us, so we ultimately gave him a go-ahead to form a stakeholders group. And Commissioner Maddox suggested that they discuss more criteria within the ordinance other than just decibel levels, the way other communities do. And so hopefully that will be coming back to the full commission. It's not going to come back to long range again. It'll come back to you after the folks have met and hopefully come to some sort of agreement. Then we got into the topic of the evening, which is sidewalks. Mr. Menendez from Public Works and Steve Schaefer, our city engineer, provided a presentation on the sidewalk project prioritization policy. We have a policy of choosing sidewalks which sidewalks to build, essentially. And the purpose of the discussion was to talk about possible changes in the criteria for prioritization and that might be made to the program. We discussed the options of more emphasis on safe routes to schools, changes in the criteria that exist right now on health and safety, improvement screening, and so on. The committee action, Commissioner Maddox and I, we directed staff to focus highly on neighborhoods who have committed to donating right-of-way for sidewalks. Because right-of-way, we may decide that a sidewalk ought to go in a certain place, but then we get out there and it turns out that people don't want to donate their right-of-way, and we have to go into condemnation, and it becomes much more complicated. So just to move projects along faster, we thought that was important. Focus on the number of pedestrians that walk along the roadways and the potential for others. That's a kind of a difficult criteria to meet, but the staff, it's hard to measure, but the staff is going to look into that. Considering the number of children living in the area within the number of users of the roadway. Replace the criteria of, quote, access to universities and college campuses with demographic data from surrounding areas. And the thinking there is that we've worked on a lot there's a lot of work going on around our universities. Two of our sense of place designated districts are, one's on South Adams, South Monroe near FAMU, and the other one is the entire College Park area. And that, we felt that it was covered, essentially. There's a lot of development going on there, a lot of redevelopment, I should say. And as part of that redevelopment, there's a lot of private sector investment in sidewalk improvements. And so we felt that we should do some other analysis. Expand all access-based criteria to at least 1 mile in every area. They're going to look into that. It may be that includes the whole city if they do that. So we'll see. This will come back to the LRTI in September and then probably to the full commission in October. So we're going to have lots of talk about sidewalks in the future. The final thing under policy issues and direction, I had the opportunity last week to meet with Ms. Holly Parker, who is representing the Sierra Club. She came to talk to me about the priorities that the Sierra Club had identified as for work in the coming months and years. They are going to be focusing on polystyrene foam cups, and I hope none of those are on our desk up here today, because that would be a no-no. Anyway, they are very interested in addressing the problem primarily through voluntary efforts like education and incentive programs, but specifically they're working with the food trucks. She just wanted to make me aware of that. They're also very interested in recycling and increasing our rates of recycling, and if Miss Barbara was here, I know she would be happy to hear that. And so I explained to the staff that I just wanted to make them aware of this issue, that this was an emerging issue of importance to the environmental community in our in our area, and that if they hear the discussions on this topic at conferences they may go to and so on, to be sure to bring those to make note. So with that, we adjourned, and that's the end of it. We are done with that for the summer.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. And based upon that report, it sounds like you need a few weeks off. There was a lot of work there, a lot of heavy lifting. Next item.
Next item is unagended speakers.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we do have 3 speakers tonight. The first is Michael Gavin. If you will, sir, you speak from this microphone here. I'll remind him and other speakers that you have 3 minutes for your remarks and ask that you give your name and address for the record. And the light just to your left will start off green and work its way to red when your time expires.
That gives me time to sing the national anthem for you. The first of 3 items that I have for you is at the American...
name and address, please.
Again. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. I am Michael Gavin, American Legion Post 13 member, a board of the Big Bend Mental Health Coalition, board of the Continuum of Care for Homelessness. The 3 items that I approach you with today. Number 1, being a Vietnam and Korean veteran, we need bus passes. We've been working on this for 18 months through the VA to get bus passes to get veterans to health care. We don't know who's dragging their feet, but we know that you have put the wheels, thanks to Commissioner Miller enlightening me, that it's going to happen soon, but sooner is better than soon. Number 2 on my list is, and when you pull into the American Legion parking lot and the Black Dog at Lake Ella, there's an offset, and it's tearing the spoilers off of very nice cars because the city hasn't taken the initiative to fix their part of it. They went and poured rocks around the lakes, but they didn't do that. I've been going over there with a shovel, filling in some of the holes, so it saves some spoilers. Number 3 is between Lake Ella Drive and Monroe, where you come from, is a grass parkway, and it's been brought to my attention that we have sidewalks everywhere. What a fortuitous agenda item, and but there's no sidewalk for all that foot traffic from Monroe and the Lake Ella Plaza all the way to Lake Ella, where there's a lot of foot traffic. People are walking in the streets. So if you can please look at that for your future sidewalk thing. And I think I beat my 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I promised one of your members. I still have time to do the national anthem for you. But thank you very much. I appreciate you for inviting me. You all have a wonderful evening. I'm late for church. Bye.
Thank you very much. Could we look into that problem with the driveway? Yeah, that seems like an easy fix.
Is it our driveway?
Yes, ma'am. The beginning of it is your property.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I know we go to I know the manager and I both go to the Black Dog a lot, so we should have picked up on that ourselves. Also, could I ask a question? If thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
If the public didn't hear that, having a picnic over at the American Legion Hall, Lake Ella, from 11 to 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where I know, and this is the mayor is a major supporter of the Bus Fest initiative for veterans, and so where are we with that?
That was one of the items that I think we had as unresolved in the budget. Did we? Yes.
So,
okay. So you will have the opportunity to address that on July 8th.
Budget
which is
workshop.
Next Tuesday. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Erwin Jackson, followed by Harry Brown.
Erwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff. Over a year ago, forced by citizen pressure, this commission created a citizens ethical panel to address the obvious lack of ethical standards in our city government. A lack of standards that allowed city commissioners to profit personally from their political positions. I've exposed numerous examples, including the, quote, deferred compensation, end quote, Honeywell's smart meter scam, ADE, land deals, and political consultants who function as bagmen for city commissioners. Martha Barnett, past president of the American Bar Association, Harry Anstead, past Florida Supreme Court justice, led this ethics panel and strongly recommended that a, quote, independent ethics officer, an IEO, was necessary and should be established. This commission, unfortunately, voted against President Barnett and Justice Anstead's request. The public knew that trying to establish ethical standards in a John Marks administration would be quite difficult. After profiting personally from Honeywell, ADE, deferred comp, and other city scams, John spoke out forcefully against any attempt to establish ethical standards that would limit his, quote, business opportunities, end quote. Commissioners Gillum and Miller, unfortunately, were quick to join John, and within a couple minutes, the community's effort to establish an IEO died. The citizens of Tallahassee are now trying to pass a referendum amending the city charter requiring an IEO. This citizens' effort is headed by 3 local leaders with very diverse backgrounds. Marilyn Wills is past chairman of the League of Women Voters and board member of Integrity Florida. Anita Davis, past Leon County Commissioner. Catherine Baer, Tea Party Network Chair. Will this commission deny these women and the 10,000 citizens who will sign their petition for an IEO? Will this commission spend our tax dollars to campaign against our efforts to try to reestablish ethical standards in city government? The complete story about these 3 remarkable and amazing women and their effort to establish an IEO can be read in my favorite Tallahassee newspaper, the Tallahassee Report. I'm strongly encouraging Commissioners Gillum and Miller to join Commissioners Ziffer and Maddox and vote on July 9th to place this citizen initiative for an IEO on the ballot. It is time you listen to the community and allow us to have a vote on this extremely important matter. Finally, citizens seeking to sign this IEO petition can get a copy of it by emailing me. The petition, unfortunately, is up here, and someone forgot to turn on the...
It's on.
Oh, that is? That's out. Oh, okay. That one's out. Unfortunate. But anyway, it's important if someone wants a copy of it to email me at Irwin, E-R-W-I-N, Jackson at irwinjackson.com. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, Commissioner.
There's some of the comments are misleading. First of all, at Commissioner Gillum's, Commissioner Gillum initiated the idea of setting up a citizens ethics panel to review all the actions the city takes and come up with recommendations as to how we could improve our ethics program here at the city. That work went on by a phenomenal amount of work from a group of citizens, and at the end of the day, they gave us 18 recommendations, all of which were adopted. 2 were modified slightly. The one that Mr. Irwin Jackson is referring to is the one that suggested an appointed position here, that we have another appointed official. That would have required, and we can still do that. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But since we're going to have that would require a charter amendment, and so we decided that since we probably will have charter review next year, it should be included in a package. Commissioner Gillum made a motion that we go ahead and put someone in place now, though, because we had adopted the other 17 recommendations, and they made up a pretty significant body of work. The entire work product probably puts Tallahassee among the leaders in Florida in ethics reform at the city level, because someone had to be in charge of getting this off the ground, and we were interested in moving that forward. Commissioner Gillum made a motion that we go ahead and put that person in place. The votes that Mayor Marks and Commissioner Gillum and I took were not against anything. They were for the motion to put this person in place right away. So I hope that clears up some confusion in the public. There was never any vote against having an ethics officer in the city of Tallahassee by this commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Cook, do we have any other speakers?
Sorry, our next speaker is Harry Brown, and then I just got another speaker form from Karen Joy Nania.
Okay. Mr. Brown, as you approach the dais, please. I just want to make very clear, this commission firmly believes in the right of every speaker to have the opportunity to speak. We put a time limit of 3 minutes. There's a reason, otherwise we'd be here all night. If you would do us the favor of recognizing that we're going to allow you 3 minutes and not interrupt you, and at the end of the 3 minutes, if any of us choose to speak, that we won't be interrupted. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Before I start, where's your civility pledge for the dais?
I have one copy here. There are copies at various places in the room. It reads, "We will be respectful of one another, even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issues. We will avoid personal attacks."
Don't we need that for everyone? Michelle, I need some technical assistance, please. Start down. I see it here. You didn't think I saw that?
I didn't know if you seen it.
Mr. Brown, your time is beginning.
I need a display here.
Sorry?
She's coming to help me.
Oh, I see.
Hello, I'm Harry Brown. I reside at 5431 Crump Road, Tallahassee, Florida. At the last commission meeting, you admonished and berated me for making a comparison between two matters of concern. You all were out of place for your actions until you walk in the hell shoes that I walked in as a city employee. You cannot scold me about anything I come here and reverberate to you about my experiences or about you as long as it is true. I make no apologies for anything I said. I saw things from my perspective, and you saw them from yours. Some people speak because they have something to say. Others speak because they have just want to say something. Every one of you should go back and study the tape from March 26th and listen to what the bevy of First Amendment rights advocates had to say. One speaker said that some of you are dirtier than others and you don't want to have your dirt revealed. Take note of this. As Miller stated, the kill switch was put in for Harry Brown. But look at how the Lord intervened. He sent me away, and you ended up using the kill switch on dear Dr. Jackson. Don't mess with God's children, for he will mess with you. Remember the Tower of Babel, how God had the builders become confused by speaking different languages and they could not understand each other. That is the same thing that's happening at this dais. Some of you wanted the kill switch and some did not. There's so much confusion among you. You should start to show love at the dais and deal with employees being wrongfully sent out of City Hall with guns at their backs and wrongfully taking money away from them and absolute mistreatment of the two female custodians. Show love. Lou, tell them how I showed you love when you called me a boy. I came to you the next day and sat down with you and explained to you why you should not call a black man a boy. Lou, we're living in the 21st century. I did not show any anger or belligerence, just love. A job study was done on my position recommending an upgrade, and the HR director told Chuck Custer no study had been done. Her secretary, Carol Young, pulled the paperwork out of the trash and gave it to me. Walk in my hell shoes. It is never too late to do the wrong thing. And Commissioner Gillum, I wanted you to see this. Do you see this? Mm-hmm. It's amazing you forgot.
Excuse me, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, our last speaker is Karen Nania. And if you'll speak from that microphone and give us your name and address from the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Karen Joy Nania, and I reside at 14101 Sloan Road here in Tallahassee. And I am the CEO and founder of an organization called Help for His Lambs. I'm also a Florida certified teacher, and I have a master's in pastoral counseling. Our ministry is 8 years old, and specifically it is a nonprofit organization existing to provide specific services to children traumatized by homelessness, which I'm finding Tallahassee has many. Poverty, abuse, neglect, abandonment, hunger, and repeated failure in school due to poor academic coping and social skills. And these situations can be attributed to the loss of one or both parents through the death or divorce, extended military assignments away from home, even incarceration, and what's going on over in New Mexico right now, where children have been displaced because of war in their own country. Our mission is to bring good news to the afflicted, bind up the brokenhearted, divide our bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into the house. And available services for the children and their parents in need are grief counseling, academic tutoring, parenting help, physical assistance, food, clothing, blankets, toiletries, and temporary and permanent shelters, starting in South Georgia and North Florida regions. And what I'm here today is just why I'm here is to make you aware of the fact that our ministry does exist and our need is properties. And I'm appealing to you for properties with homes already on them. And once we have those, we have an entire staff in place already who can minister to these children, and I guarantee that a year from their entry into the program, into the home, that we staff, we'd be using our curriculum, which is Florida accepted, and they would be on par with their the other children in the schools here in Tallahassee and even statewide. We need housing that would include places for the children to stay overnight. And this is long-term as well as short-term. The curriculum is set up so that they can enter at whatever time they were dropped off. And we know that the consistency with which our staff works, these children would definitely come out ahead. And my appeal to you is just maybe to plant a seed today and say that we exist and our need is for property. And if you can help us with this, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for caring.
If I could ask you, my aide, Kathy Branch, is in the blue shirt in the back. If you could give her your contact information. There's a federally mandated program that is in place called the Continuum of Care that she's going to get your information so I can reach out to you and let you know when our next meeting is, because I think you should come to it and participate.
Thank you.
There are no other speakers.
We're on sharing of ideas.
Sharing of ideas. Commissioners, Commissioner Miller.
Commissioners, I want to share with you the fact that I think it's time for us to get rid of the kill switch. There's a tremendous amount of discussion about it. Really, in the beginning, what it meant to me was an ability to not control people's speech, but to control their actions. When folks get upset at the dais or at the podium here and begin to become, more and more agitated, I saw it as a way to calm that down after the 3 minutes. I mean, I've been here for 4 years now, and never have I ever minded sitting through 3 minutes of anybody's comments. And in fact, all the discussion that's gone on about how we have suspended rights and all that stuff, we have actually added, in the last 4 years, we have added a period at the beginning of the meeting in response to public requests so that folks could come and address agenda items prior to the agenda item being discussed by us. So we have expanded folks' abilities to have input. We've actually got furniture out in the hall, and we now give free parking to people to encourage people to come, because this is the people's building, and this is the people's government, and it's important to me that people do come and participate. So I feel that we've done a great deal. This one action of putting this kill switch in has negated all of that, and I just as soon go ahead and make the decision to take it out.
Commissioner Gillum, you look like you have something to say.
No, I mean, if it's a motion, I'll second.
Commissioner Maddox.
I think it all rests with the gavel.
I agree.
I had the great fortune of serving as mayor from 1997 to 2003, and we had to remove people. And the problem is not the content of the speech, it is the fact that they want to keep talking and monopolize and shout from the audience and go back and forth and be unruly. That should not be put up with in any public forum. And so it doesn't matter to me a switch. What needs to happen is that power is vested in the mayor. When someone doesn't follow the rules of decorum in a public meeting, they should be removed by the Tallahassee Police Department and asked to leave. You have sergeant-at-arms that do this in every kind of organization across America, and you have it in public meetings all over. And I think I can tell you when I served before, we had a whole lot more citizens that would come to talk.
No.
Nobody comes now, or very few, and I think that's because they don't want to be part of the shouting match that is happening from the same two people that come every commission meeting. And you got to ask yourself why is it that it's your hobby to come every commission meeting and to disrupt? So to me, the switch is irrelevant. As far as I know, there's always been a switch. We had a switch, it just wasn't at the mayor's seat. So, I mean, that's irrelevant. What needs to happen is we have rules, and we ask people to abide by the rules. They can give whatever opinions they want. We ask them to be civil, and we ask them to stick to 3 minutes, and we ask them not to shout from the audience. And if they can't behave themselves in that manner, then they're then obstructing the ability of this body to do the business that it was elected to do, and they'll be removed for it. We're here to make decisions and to have meetings and to listen to citizens and do our jobs. So all opinions are welcome, but if it gets to the point where it disrupts us from doing our jobs, they ought to be removed. That's my opinion.
So I especially appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Gillum, you have a comment?
I mean, I wasn't expecting this on the, on the agenda. I guess it isn't on the agenda, but my feelings about this switch are pretty well known. Which is, I agree with the sentiment that the chair has the gavel and has an obligation to keep the meeting in order. I think the switch is a machination, and I think it's been more of a distraction than a help. I mean, we've not used it since its installation. With one exception. And, the truth is it will be very difficult for any of us to edit the speech of anyone from up here. As much as we might try, the best attempt that we have is after someone has crossed the line is to choose or not choose to speak to them from our place here on the dais. I think it is a total and complete distraction. I think it has not in any way been effective toward the end that we would like to achieve. It has given someone who was otherwise, and I'm speaking directly about Mr. Jackson, and frankly, Mr. Brown as well, two of the most disrespectful people I've ever seen in the public square. It has given them legitimacy by way of their arguments that I think, for the most part, are otherwise illegitimate. And it's not the first time listening to people come up and make claims that are untrue, that are salacious, that are personally hurtful. We got to, we sit through that, we endure that. I think there are limits to it, and I think that's where the chair's ability to gavel a meeting to order comes into play. This device, this machination, I don't think is doing any of that. I think it's a simple distraction. And it's unfortunate the mayor isn't here to sort of weigh in. I know he probably has strong feelings about this item, but my intention was to leave it alone and, frankly, see what happens in November and go from there. But if it is the will of the commission to take a position to remove that or instruct the staff to remove that and empower the mayor to gavel the meeting to order at the times that it is appropriate, I'm all for that. I mean, he's the chair, and there are rules and standards of engagement that inure to the public square that may be different from any other place. But this is the public square, and the integrity of it has to be maintained, and we ought to be trying to solicit more input, more people, And I think it's had the exact opposite impact. Not only the conduct of some of the more irresponsible speakers, but I think our very own conduct through the installation of this device has also served to discourage. And so if we can do anything to remove that stain, I'm happy to do it.
We had 4 speakers, and from what I understand, we have another
one more.
That's correct.
We've had 4 speakers this evening, of which 2 came to us and asked for us to respond of the 4, which we have, which I think should send a message to anybody that's watching right now. If you do have a request of this government, this is actually a very good time and place to do that. I will take, for whatever responsibility there is to take, that part of the installation of the kill switch came from me, but I want to be very clear. It had to do with after the 3 minutes. Never has anyone on this commission suggested people do not have a right to speak. The problem, as evidenced at our last meeting, is that there are some people that no matter what refuse to allow us to speak. Now, I agree. That can be taken care of through the use of the gavel by the mayor. So I will very willingly be the one now to ask for a vote. All in favor of ridding ourselves of this switch, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That vote passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We have another speaker.
We do. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, the next speaker is Twanetta Rollins, and I'll direct you to this microphone here, just up in front of the dais, and ask you, if you will, when you reach the microphone, to give us your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
My name is Twanetta Rollins. My address is 386 Manatee Cove Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. The issue and agenda I'm coming to the city commissioners and city manager with today is keeping our streets safe. We've organized a few members. They're coming. We thought we were a little late for the meeting, and we want to reach out to the police department, the public churches. We're trying to find jobs and stuff, and we just ask the commissioners to back us on this, and maybe just, if you can, get the police on board also. We're going to host events. We're going to do job fairs. We're starting with known gang members, then those that are looking up to the gang members, and then those minors that's going to follow in their footsteps. So we have a major audience that we're targeting, and there's no age limit. So we just wanted to bring it to the commissioner's attention.
Good stuff.
Thank
Commissioner Gill.
Yeah, I just, Twanetta?
Yes, sir.
You were at the meeting, the town hall meeting the other night, and you made some really passionate comments that I remember. And seeing you tonight, and with the shirt and the other folks, you really did bring a smile to my face, because that's what we were talking about the other night, yes, which is us individually as members of the community stepping up and taking full responsibility for our part. Yes, so I think you will find a willing and cooperative partner in the chief, who's in the back of the room. He can speak for himself maybe after the meeting. And I think in this commission, this is, as I said the other night, not an issue that will be resolved by TPD by itself. There are a lot of folks who play a role in it. So I just want to tilt my hat to you, Twanetta, for taking the initiative. I think this is exactly the right thing we need to be doing, moving in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for stepping forward.
Sharing of ideas?
Good.
No other speakers, so
okay.
The floor is yours.
Before we adjourn, I would like to recognize Delectri Hollinger. Delectri, could you stand up and say hello? I think all of us have been watching Delectri grow up over the last 4 years, and he
actually, I would say he's been shrinking over the last 4 years.
Well, he's definitely. Well, it seems like he's gotten a lot taller to me, but he is now president of TCC student body, and I am delighted to see him again.
Hear, hear.
Any other sharing of ideas, commissioners? With
Happy
that,
4th of July.
Exactly. Meeting adjourned.